that's the last one. 41 liters of water. I'm gonna brew a new batch of beer. A little while ago, we got a few mates coming over in a little while, and need to supply them some really nice beer. This is going to be a double IPA. I'm gonna make this from scratch, grain and hops. At the moment, I'm gonna heat the water up until 66 degrees, which I need for the mash. The mash will actually take about 75 minutes, and what that will do, it will separate the sugars from the grains into the fluid, in the water in this case. And when that's done, I'll take the grain out and I'll do some more work, but I'll tell you what to do afterwards. Made this little lid with a thermometer on it, so I can actually watch what the temperature is and how it's all going. So it's pretty handy. So it's going to go on top of here, and then I'm going to switch on the big burner. It's a bloody big burner, I can tell you. If it goes on. Almost burned myself there. Anyway, you can hear it roaring. Alright, I'll get back when the temperature's there. Alright, the temperature's there. 70. We'll go down a little bit more, check for 66. Get there. I'll switch on these. Take up the lid. The thermometer. And I'm going to put in this grain back. So we need this bag because once we're ready with the grains, we need to be able to separate them. And if you just throw them in the water, you won't be able to get them out, of course. So this will go and keeps the grains. Now this is going to be a big beer, so it's going to be a lot of grains here. 7 kilos of grains. With a mixture of certain grains, but it's already pre-mixed for me. And we're going to push the limits of this keg because there's a lot of water already in there. You know, a lot of grains are going to go in. It's going to be pretty full. Just to pinch that a bit. Go to the bottom. Okay, last bit. These grains are milled. It means they've been, I don't know, flattened, I guess. So it's easier to release the sugars to the water. Alright, so a bit of a mixture here. Now this is gonna stay like this for about 75 minutes. And put the lid on again, because the temperature has to stay within a certain limit. 66 degrees. It's already cooling down a bit, but it will go up again. The process of releasing sugars usually brings it up a bit more. Anyway, to keep it at the same temperature, at that temperature, I'm going to put some old curtains around. Trying to keep this temperature going. Alright, temperature dropped a bit more than I want, but not much more I can do at the moment. 63, should be 66, but probably go up again, I hope. Okay, let's see, 70 minutes from now. Okay, the 75 minutes are over. The temperature is not as good as I hoped it would be. It's still about 63, but that's okay, hopefully it should be right. Okay, this is a little bit messy. So this is 7 kilograms of grain full of water, so it's quite a bit of weight. Getting it out without spoiling anything is impossible. So I have to have it out, take it out. It's going to be in the black packet there, so I can still capture some of the liquid, which is called wort, which is very sweet, all the sugars, and these sugars are going to be converted at some stage to alcohol. Normally I do this with the second person when Jeanette's here, but at the moment here, Alfie is here, you're not going to be able to help, mate. I wish you could. Right, so alright, here we go. There we go. So I'll leave this hanging. I'm going to leave this hanging so I can still catch a lot of the fluids in here, as you can see. And with this control I'm able to move things a bit easier. Alright, and this is gonna be on the boil at the moment. I'm gonna boil this for half an hour, or 1.5 hours actually. I'll find my lighter. Yeah, my lighter is here. Very good lighter, by the looks of it. Put the lid on again. Temperature is now 55.7. Obviously it has to go to 100. It shouldn't take too long with this burner. And once that's done, we are gonna put some hops in at various times. Depending when what time you put them in, it's gonna be more bitter or less bitter. But I want it bitter, so it's going to be very early in the process. There's obviously still a lot of fluid in the grain, so I'll just snip that up a little bit, and as you can see there's quite a lot of there. We don't want to waste that. So it's all potential beer. Now I'm using this primitive method called brew in a bag. And the reason I'm doing that is because we're on solar, more fancy systems like Grainfather and a lot of other things, and they all use electricity. And if I'm gonna boil this amount of fluid, it's about 35 liters, 40 liters, electric 1.5 hour. It's going to drain my battery, so I'm sticking with gas. It's a bit more primitive, but the end result should be the same. Right, as I mentioned, depending when you put the hops in, at what time in the boiling process, your beer is going to be bitter or less bitter, and it's going to be a different taste. Obviously, there's a lot of different kind of hops, and by combining certain variations, you get certain flavor patterns. I'm doing an IPA, a double IPA, which is going to be a very strong beer, but probably 8.2 it's supposed to be in the end, and it's going to use a lot of hops. Hops do three things: makes your beer bitter. The second thing, it's going to give you aroma, and the last thing is actually give you another hoppy flavor. So I'm gonna mix a few things for the first at 60 minutes. That's gonna go in at 60 minutes. So this is gonna be 30 grams of Cascade, which is this. To keep your hops as long fresh as possible, you have to keep them in the freezer normally, which I do. I have taken them out, and now I have to open this package, which is a bit of a pain by the looks of it. Very much of a pain. I think I had this before. It's supposed to open like this, but it doesn't really do. That's pretty useless. Okay, let's get some scissors. It's supposed to reseal it, but you can't open it. Okay. No idea what they're trying to accomplish here, but it's impossible to open this pack. Now I've got issues with almost every package in the world, but this is not much I can do about it. You open it up and it just plastic doesn't separate. Oh, of course. Maybe this will do the job. Yeah. Can't be steal the bag anymore, but anyway, it's open. So we need 30 grams of that. Too much. There we go. And the other one's going to be Centennial. Look at this. Well, it's probably going to be the same problem, or just a different package. Let's have a look. No, this is alright. Not sure where the other one was. Centennial, so that's another 30 grams of that. See, now you can reseal it again. That's the whole idea. Anyway. So these are the hops. They're pellet actually. They are pelletized. So I guess they are pulverized and then put in pellets. And then you can easily freeze them. And this is what's going to go into the beer at 23 minutes. Okay, this is the first batch. 60 grams of a combination of hops. Going there. There you go. Yes, it's boiling quite vigorously. You see the green stuff coming. Sometimes it starts to boil up a bit, but you just mix it well through. So these hops are gonna make the beer bitter. Alright, so it's all done now. It's finished. Doesn't look very attractive, I admit. The lens is fogging up now. So this is 100 degrees now, so it's pretty hot. I need to put it in this called the cube to cool it down. I normally put it in the pool, but I don't worry about it now. I just leave it there for a night, and the next day I'm gonna put it in the actual fermenter, but I'll film that tomorrow. Okay, let's fill it up. Let's see how much we end up with. Looks like a lot actually, maybe too much. Okay, here we go. I'll leave for this, there's a lot of hops in there. There we go, 22 litres. That's alright, that's pretty hot. Hopefully it'll be enough. Yes. These are the leftover grains, which have done that job. I'm releasing the sugars, which you're going to ferment and you're going to make alcohol in the end. What I do with these, it's quite a lot. What I normally do, there's still a lot of sugar in there. See, there's quite a lot of grains in here, and I usually give them to the chickens, and they can Aussie like it too. And I think Aussie already smelled it because Aussies are a little pony. He's over there. Let's see if he wants some. Think so. Hey, he knows his black bucket. Yeah. Okay, the liquid, which we call wort, has been cooled last night. It's freezing cool now, and it's gonna go in the stainless steel fermenter, which will go into this standard freezer, which I've converted to a fermentation chamber. I'll explain in a second how it works. First, we need to get the wort in. Hopefully that will go alright. This is pretty sweet because of all the sugars and bitter because of the hops, so it's an interesting taste, but obviously there's no alcohol in it yet. Of course that's going to happen during the fermentation when we put some yeast in it, which will convert the sugars to alcohol. Alright, here we go. Right, the last bit is a bit of a mess. A lot of hops in there, which can only clog up the tube system, so I'm not going to put that in. Hopefully this should be enough. We're going to put in an electronic device which allows me via Bluetooth to monitor what's happening, the temperature and the gravity. I'll explain the gravity in a second. So that goes in there, and then we're going to put the lid on. So, I've got an old phone here, which will go on top here, which allows me to check what's happening with the little device in the fermenter. It's a little app on here, and it tells me the temperature is about 25 degrees. So it's still a bit too warm, it needs to be around 20 before I can put the yeast in. So I'll have to wait for a bit longer. What I'll do is, I've got another device here which I'm going to connect to the actual fermenter. That's Velcro. This will measure the temperature. It's a difficult word. And this is connected to this box, which I will switch on now. And what this box does, the freezer is actually connected to the back, and there's a little heating element here too. So depending on the temperature it measures here, and I can adjust temperature measurements in here. It's gonna switch on the freezer to cool it down, or it's gonna run this little element to warm it, heat it up. The heater doesn't much get used here. It's usually I have to cool it down because the temperature here where we live. It also says it's 24 degrees, so it should actually cool down. I'll have to make some adjustments to this. 1 degree. So this is going to be, I'm going to set this to 20. There's a bit of a delay in there because obviously you don't want to switch the compressor of the freezer on and off too quick after each other. That's going to actually destroy it. So at the moment, until the delay is finished, it will start cooling down if I close the door. There's also we call that blow-off tube, which is an airlock. When I'm going to put the yeast in, it's going to work and it's going to create a lot of CO2, and that has to get out, of course, otherwise it's going to blow up. So that we'll do, we go via a tube here in a little bucket or a little mug, which I will fill in with some sanitizing sanitizing fluid, and that will start bubbling at some stage when the fermentation starts. I'll show it later on. So this is basically the fermentation. Like I said, I have to wait until it's dropping to 20 degrees, and that's the right temperature to actually put the yeast in, and that's going to be in for a couple of days. I pitched the yeast yesterday, and it's going up. Oh, it's going down a bit, which it's supposed to be. It's something went wrong. The gravity is way too low. It should be a lot higher. Anyway, it ferments, so we'll see what the end result will be. It's fermenting quite well, actually. This is all the air which is produced, or CO2 which is produced by the yeast eating up the sugars in the fermenter. That's going well. Okay, we've reached the point where we can actually keg the beer. I've added on different stages some extra hops which they call dry hopping. Dry hopping is more or less not for much flavor, more for aroma, for things you can smell. Sometimes you get beers which are very hoppy, and that's what these beers are. After that, I've been 5 days cold pressing. Cold pressing means you keep the beer just from above freezing point. So about 1 degrees. What this will do, all the little things which are floating into the beer should drop down the bottom. And when I'm going to fill the keg, I shouldn't get much of that stuff in the keg itself. That's what the cold pressing is for. Alright, let's have a look. I'm using kegs because I don't like bottles that much. This is actually the wrong tube. I have another tube. This is too big. Right, sanitized. Okay. Okay, let's have a look. Let's open the floodgates. It's filling in now. Okay, now a bit more sanitizer. It's very susceptible to infections at the moment, so you have to be careful. Okay, this is a full cake. Now, normally if you do bottles, we put a bit of sugar in it, and that would create CO2 in the bottle after a week or something, a couple of days. Obviously I don't do that here, and what I'm going to do here is we call it force carbonating. What we're doing is we got a bottle of CO2 there. I'll show you actually. Show you first the stuff which is actually in there. It's a bit dark, I think. What's actually left? So, a bit of a light. Seems a little rubbish a bit left, but you don't want that in the cake. And this is the CO2, which we're gonna use to actually carbonate the beer. Okay, so first we put a bit of CO2 in there just to get rid of the oxygen, because at the moment oxygen is an enemy of the beer. So put CO2 in, and now everything should be out. Okay, and now we're gonna put it back on. We're gonna put it a bit higher. And one. And we're gonna put it on the ground. You can hear it going in already. And to make it even better, is you have to noise. You have to do this for the roll to be better, so there's more CO2 can be released in there. So it's about 2 minutes. It should be enough. So leave it rest for a bit. And the next batch is gonna go in. Okay, and this is the final result of the beer which I did brew last couple of weeks. I've set up my old fridge as a beer dispenser or tap. It's an old fridge. You can see I've put a lot of kegs in here with some beer lines to the outside door, and on the top is some CO2 which goes to the kegs and that pushes it out. And this is the end result. That's some nice beer. Oh, maybe I have to use the right tap. There you go. Cheers. Delicious. Delicious. All worth it. All the work. Cheers.